Hey everybody, welcome to our Q&A about Nepal. We reached out, about a week or so or two ago on Instagram, on YouTube, and so many of you submitted questions. That was awesome. We're very excited to talk about multiple things about Nepal today.
Yep, we've taken all of your questions and we've kind of categorized them, and many people asked the same questions, so those definitely made it into the Q&A today.
Yep. So a lot of the questions we're going to answer that you asked were about why Nepal, where we went in Nepal, accommodations,
how to hike with kids, how do we prepare our family for this type of trek, and just like logistics and stuff like that to get your family out the door and onto the trail.
All right, well, let's get started. Okay, so just to summarize what our experience was in Nepal, we went to Nepal with the intention of going to the Everest base camp viewpoint. So not all the way to base camp. That was never the goal. We just wanted to get to basically the Everest Viewpoint Hotel and then one kind of trek past that, and then we would loop back. So, and that's because Forrest was 3, and in the time being, I think there's been a 3-year-old who made it all the way to base camp, but that was just never our goal. And because of the weather and that time of year, you're never guaranteed that there's going to be flights every single day like you would on peak season. And the reason we didn't go in peak season back in December had to do with quarantine situations in Nepal and rules that they had. So we had to, by default, sort of postpone until June. And that's when we went there off peak season. And of course, as you saw in a previous video, the weather did not go in our favor when we tried to fly to Lukla. So that was all canceled. And instead, and credit to the Nepal hiking team, they already had backups in plan in case this scenario played out as it did.
They had plan B and plan C already ready for us.
Yeah, they really talked about like Langtang and Upper Mustang. And we went with Langtang because we wanted that trekking experience, whereas the way Upper Mustang was presented was more of a car-based day journey. We did not want that. We just wanted to get out there and we wanted to hike. So that was sort of the scenario behind everything, how we ended up in Langtang, which is a trek we really, in the end, ultimately adored and have now have fond memories of. Wonderful, beautiful hike for sure. And that, again, kudos to the Nepal hiking team for having options for us when the weather did not go in our favor.
So we also already had an end date, so we knew we could sit there and wait out the weather in Lukla, but we knew we were leaving on a certain day.
Right, absolutely. So that just limited the options. We had to make kind of a quick decision, and again, I'm really glad we ended up with a Longtong Trail as our go-to.
Yes. So should we just jump right in?
Yeah, I think so. Again, these are all organized based on the questions that you asked via the YouTube and Instagram.
Okay, so should we start with questions about hiking with kids?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a wide variety of questions related to our experience in Nepal hiking with kids.
Absolutely. I just want to preference that this is what we did. Like, we hiked with our kids. All the situation just worked in our favor.
Yep.
We had guides that worked out with us. Everyone's situation is going to be just a little bit different. So we're just going to share our experience. And if you want to do this, you just have to kind of make the judgment call, if it's right for you or not right for you. How healthy are you? How does your family work? And just try and, I don't know. Go for it, I guess.
Yeah, I would say definitely go for it. I mean, we were in Nepal a few years ago when Granite was 5 and Cedar was 3. So this was not our first time in Nepal hiking with kids. And on that particular trail before, we did some Annapurna loop, the Poon Hill area. It was lovely. So we already came into Nepal sort of knowing what to expect when hiking with kids. So everything that we experienced out of Langtang was in a way similar to what we experienced before. And the reason we wanted to come back to Nepal to hike with kids is because now Granite and Cedar are this much older, being 10 and 8, and now Forrest is 3. So that we knew was kind of the perfect age for carrying, because if you go any later than 3 with a 3-year-old, then it becomes a little bit more difficult. If your children start to become 4 and 5, they're a bit too big for the porters to carry or for you to carry on your back, but they're not big enough to do those big trekking days. Yeah. So that's why we really wanted to come in this window, being that Forrest was in the 3-year-old age range. Again, you can certainly go when they're younger. It just gets a little harder, in my opinion, to go when they're older.
4 to 7-year-old age.
Yes.
For us.
Correct, for our family and our trekking ability. So I'm certainly glad we went now with the ages that they are. Granite Cedar will now have the kind of the permanent memory of this, and Forrest just got to go for a ride.
Yep. And with that, our first question is, what is the main goal of this trip, especially for our kids? And I would say for me, it's just like really getting them out in nature, to connect with nature, to just have that, be outdoors for multiple days and spend that time together as a family outside. And also just like little thing like building their self-confidence. Like, can I do this? We didn't know if they could do it. So putting that goal out there and saying, okay, let's just do this together, and I'll support you and you support me, and we help each other through it. I think just building that confidence as an individual and as a family too.
Absolutely. All right, the second question came basically around what was everyone's reaction when we found out we were going to Langtang versus kind of the Everest trek. And for us, we had done a lot of homework about the Everest trek. We watched a lot of YouTubes. We showed that to the kids to kind of get the images in their mind of what we were going to experience. And when that pivoted to Langtang because of the weather, we had already watched some YouTube videos about the Langtang trek. So I was actually pretty excited to do it.
We already had that picture in our head, what it was like.
Absolutely. So I will say that our goal was, as mentioned, not to get to Everest Base Camp. Had that been our goal going in, we wanted to get to Everest Base Camp, I probably would have been a little disappointed that we weren't going to do that, because like to get to base camp's really an excellent goal.
Yeah.
But that was not the goal.
Our goal is just to hike as a family.
So that's the way we really approached it with the kids. It's like, okay, we're not going to do this Everest thing. We're going to do the Langtang thing. So everyone was like, well, okay, sounds great. Let's do it.
Here we go.
But what I will say is this now gives us an opportunity to come back to Nepal in the future when Forrest gets a little older to do the Everest Base Camp official base camp trek. That'll be pretty epic when we
That'll be epic. Yeah, we can't wait to come back. We're already in our mind thinking, I mean, there's so many trails in Nepal, so we'll be back several times, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so thinking about coming to Nepal with kids, we're getting a lot of questions around safety and, being prepared and making sure that we're making good choices as a family. And so the question was, overall, is Nepal safe for kids? Absolutely. There's so many Nepali families are everywhere. Like, it is safe for kids. Yeah. What we did is we partnered with a tour guide company so that we could have that extra knowledge base.
Yeah, kind of another layer of safety and guidance with kind of everywhere we went.
And just keeping our eyes on the weather and how it's going, sticking together on the trail, not letting the kids get out of our sight too far in case somebody gets hurt.
Right.
Sticking together. Taking it slow. I think there was a lot of questions about altitude sickness. And one of the big things with altitude sickness is just going slow.
Right. And Langtang, a lot of times, the reason Langtang is popular for families, especially within our age group, is because it is it's considered a lower elevation trek versus something like the Everest base camp trek. So it is Langtang is a lower elevation trek. So if you had any sort of concerns about altitude sickness, start looking at the Langtang trek.
It's hard to prepare for altitude sickness because you could get it one time and never get it again, or you could never get it and one day just get hit with it. So basically just staying healthy, staying hydrated, eating big meals or good food along the way, getting sleep at night, and just monitoring. I think we checked in with the kids all the time.
That's just what I was going to say. We did a lot of checking in with our kids. Some of that you saw on video, and other times, we didn't. We would just have like a kind of a family debrief meeting, like how are we feeling, what's sore, do you have a headache, anything like that. We would just do that constant check-in, and that I think helped a lot.
Yep, and our guides were, they've been out in the field every season, so they know what to look for signs like that.
Correct, so. Absolutely. And regarding things like injury and safety, so one of the reasons we went with the Nepal trekking team, or any guide that you would choose for yourself, they're going to be prepared, and that would be something you would talk about before you choose a company. But we were very satisfied with the Nepal hiking team and the first aid kit and their background knowledge with injuries. We asked about incidents they had, and they shared all types of like stories of injuries or broken bones or whatever. So when it comes to safety, an accident could have happened. Like somebody could have injured themselves, as Kelly mentioned earlier. I mean, things really were in our favor on this whole experience. We didn't get sick. We didn't have injuries.
We didn't even have blisters, which
not really.
Amazing. No one had a blister.
You had a leech.
I had a leech on my arm which didn't even bleed. Forrest had a leech on his ankle that did bleed. That was it.
Yes. So that was the extent of our injuries were some leeches. But, again, it's one of those things that do you not do the trip because what could happen, or do you do the trip and take the precautions? I mean, that's kind of always been our route in life. It's like, no, we are going to go for it.
We take the risk usually.
Yeah, we take the risk. I mean,
it's calculated.
It's a calculated, researched risk. Yeah. But that's, again, for our family, it was exactly what we wanted it to be. And it's just your family may have a different expectation or the same, whatever. But that's, again, for your family to decide. But for us, the experience we had in terms of safety, wildlife, altitude, I mean, it was great. We felt safe. Perfectly wonderful, in our opinion.
You mentioned wildlife. That's another question that came up. Like, were we scared of any wildlife that could have happened? I don't even know if it was really on our radar to be worried. We lived in Alaska for 8 years, so we're used to being in bear country. We didn't feel unsafe at all.
Nope.
I know we were looking for red pandas and mountain lions the entire time because snow leopards.
Snow leopards, yes.
Because we were excited to see them. I don't know if we would have actually seen them if that would have been the same.
Correct. Yeah, Langton's a pretty chill trail in terms of the wildlife. We did see the monkeys. And, monkeys are always like, whoa, there's a lot of monkeys here, but,
And you
no
guys
danger.
saw a deer. You and Grant.
We did, yeah. A dog, a wild, one of those kind of Nepalese dogs
that was
followed us for a while, ran off into the brush, and it chased out a deer. So that ran right in front of us. Very cool. Very small deer. But, that was it in the extent of wildlife.
Nothing scary.
No.
Even the leeches, which were exciting for us, were not scary.
No, that was just interesting.
Yep.
Okay, so another question that we saw, kind of a theme, was about the long hiking days we did in the beginning, those 7-8 hour days, and how did that affect Granite and Cedar? So as you saw from those videos, Granite and Cedar generally kept a pretty upbeat attitude about hiking. And, where we live in Indonesia, they do a lot of trekking and hiking, so they're kind of used to the scenario. Now, those 7-8 hour days, that was new. But they handled it very well. Again, the key to success for long hiking days is having snacks.
A lot of food.
Breaks.
And a lot of breaks.
Yeah. That kind of, here's a Snickers bar, here's some cookies, here's some crackers. It doesn't all have to be like junk food, but just here's an apple. Those constant little rest and eating breaks help, I think, with those 7-8 hours.
I think we rested every hour. I think we stopped at least every hour, definitely for drinking water, but also just to take the packs off and just kind of relax. And then we found things to do along the way, like the hiking sticks. Just even finding hiking sticks was kind of like a scavenger hunt and fun. And then when we got to the river, we played in the river on the way up and on the way back when you guys jumped in it. And so just remembering, just letting the kids kind of lead and be like, okay, let's throw rocks in the river, or let's race sticks down the river.
Right. Little games.
Playing games.
We also brought games. We brought Spot It, if you're familiar. We brought, what's our dice game?
Uno, and Farkle.
Farkle, yeah. So just little teeny lightweight backpacking games. That's something that as a family we can do at night, and it's just something to look forward to.
And a hacky sack.
To bring us together. Oh, we brought our little hacky sack. Frisbee style, a lot of fun. So
and our porters played with us, so it's fun, and our guides. So everyone just kind of at night when we just release while we're waiting for dinner to cook, and we play games and relax and have fun together, and it was perfect. It's a good way to reset.
Absolutely.
Okay, we did get a question about Forrest. Did he get into the backpack every time? He did get into the backpack every time. He cried, I think, the first 2 mornings.
Yeah, the first 2 mornings. Then by the third, fourth morning, he was never like excited to get in the back, but then the kind of what I thought would happen is what happened. That first day he screamed and cried, and then finally he let it go, and then he became used to it. Yeah.
And it became his new normal, and I think that for him was a big step. He's used to riding on my back, so for him it was more of him wanting to be on my back, not necessarily be on Druba's back. And so it was more of but we're trying to build his independence as well, because he's going to preschool this year. And so we want him to be comfortable and feel confident even without me.
Correct. Absolutely. And so the backpack, there were some people who asked, why didn't we just carry him?
We could have.
Yeah, we certainly could have. But we wanted, we were actually seeking him to not be with us for chunks of time. And that's exactly the way it worked out. And in the end, it was great. Yeah, it was awesome.
And he was happy. I put some pictures up on Instagram, him giving us thumbs up.
Yeah. High fives.
Druba gave him some lollipops along the way, and so he was having fun.
Absolutely.
All right, so we also have a lot of questions about managing our kids and their behaviors and everything while things change all the time. So I think the biggest thing is being flexible, especially if you're traveling through airports or hotel, things just change all the time. Yeah. And we also have to be flexible, and so hopefully we're modeling that for them as well.
Usually, we're pretty good.
Usually. We'll try and model that, okay, well, plans changed. Let's do this other thing. But also, our kids have been doing this their entire life. Granite and Cedar were born in Alaska. We took them on the road, long road trips. Alaska's really spread out. So long road trips, music festivals, sleeping in bear country, hiking in bear country. We've been taking Granite out since he was born, since he was a newborn. Cedar had 4 camping trips in before she was 1 month of age. So the kids are pretty flexible with just living on the road or living out of a suitcase. They've been sleeping on airport benches and floors.
Yeah, this is now our 8th year since we left America originally for teaching overseas. Yep. And we were in India for a few years, Dubai for a few years. Now we're in Indonesia. The lifestyle and what it takes to have the flexibility is basically the life our kids know as what is normal life, because this is just what they've been doing for their basic entire lives.
Right. And we're not experts on it, but it's always a work in progress, and we're always learning new tricks. And as you watch our videos over time, you'll see we're trying to pack differently. We're trying to new clothes and new style,
the right combinations.
The right combinations of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And then a lot of comments were based around how well our kids behave and how they're disciplined and so on. And I will say a lot of that is just because they're just used to that lifestyle. But there are times where we do set the camera down and we don't film what we intended to film that day, just because we can just read it in our kids that they need a 0 day, they need a down day. And frankly, maybe there's emotions or, who knows what the scenario might be. But there are just times where, as every kid in the world and even every adult or family in the world, we have to be flexible to their needs. What are our needs? Yeah. And that's, some of that's not necessarily captured on video, but we are flexible and we do try to support Granite, Cedar, and Forest that way. When we can kind of see that they're struggling, okay, we had this plan for today, we're shifting.
Right.
And that's just life, right?
You got to be flexible.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
Or it doesn't work. If it's not fun, don't do it.
It's not fun, don't do it. I like it. So anyway, that's kind of about
their behavior and stuff. And so everyone needs timeouts too. Yeah. A lot. Just to re-energize and have some downtime. So we do a lot of those as well.
It's actually really cute when Forrest, when we say timeout, we don't mean the negative, they just need their own time.
They need a break.
Forrest will have moments of timeout in the airport, randomly. He'll just rage and then he'll walk off and we're just kind of spy on him, and he just sits down 20 meters away from us and he's just sitting there watching, and we're like, okay. And then he circles back. So it's, every child is different how they handle it, but either way, we're figuring it out as we go as well.
So give me tips you can add that in too. Yes. Okay, so the next question is about our our accommodations and stuff while hiking.
Tea houses, what that's like with kids.
And so definitely on the trail we stayed in tea houses, which are really basic accommodations. Wood floors, plywood walls,
foam mattress pads were the sleeping beds.
Mm-hmm. And they came with a covered sheet on it, pillow, and then a comforter.
Yeah.
Yep. And so that's that was pretty typical of all of the places we stayed.
Right. Yeah. I would say the Langtang trails, because it's so remote, was a little bit more basic of a tea house compared to what we experienced with the Poon Hill Annapurna trek, which was much more road city based. That experience. So this one, more basic, but still the best parts about the tea houses have to do with the food, in my opinion, and obviously meeting the owner and hearing some of the owner's story and all that. But the food is always amazing at tea houses because it's always fresh. It was amazing. So anything you ordered, it was cooked to order, and they would go out to the garden and they would pull potatoes for French fries, greens for dal bhat. It was all just made per order fresh, and that's always good.
Yeah, fresh chapati.
Yes.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, handmade pizza crust when we had that on the menu towards the end of the trip. But the tea house experience, you walk in, you're served tea or coffee right away. You kind of set up, at least our routine was we set up the bedroom. We got
put in our dinner order.
Yeah, put in dinner order right away. We got in comfortable clothes, took our shoes and socks off, let everything air out. Played games. Yes. Some of the tea houses had showers, some did not. And if there were showers, like hot water showers, you had to pay an additional fee for that. I don't remember exactly, maybe $200-300. But then tea houses that had hot showers didn't have towels necessarily. So we did not bring packed towels, although that is something I know a lot of people do carry. So we were like kind of wet, and we would just sort of air dry.
If you want to take a shower, just bring a packed towel and some soap.
Yep.
Because that's probably not going to be provided.
Yeah, and you saw that in another video where we bought little shampoo and conditioner packets and that kind of stuff. So that's pretty much the lowdown on the tea houses. I mean, you get in, you're already tired. Oh, go ahead.
There's the squatty potties.
Ah, yes.
So if you're not used to it, I can do a reel on Instagram about it. It's very simple, but it's just a squatty potty. And a bucket with water. So we did carry our own toilet paper.
Yes.
And we carried baby wipes because we have baby wipes.
And hand sanitizer.
So just something to think about if you're making your packing list. If you use toilet paper, bring that. But they will have the squatty potty, and they were clean.
Yeah, none of them smell bad. I mean, they're all. I mean, because the owner of the tea house lives there. Yeah. So like they keep it clean for themselves, and then so we never noticed anything really bad or rancid about any of the bathroom situations while we were there.
No, and Granite and Cedar, they nailed it. They totally had it down. They
pros on the squatty potty.
Yeah, they had their system down. It was really fun. Yeah. And then another thing is about we talked about food, but water. And
right.
We mentioned that in one video.
Right. So we carried the SteriPen. It's an Amazon. It's a ultraviolet light treatment system for the water where you stick it in, and within 45 or 90 seconds later, depending on the amount, you've got drinking water. A lot of people mentioned in the comments that they would just drink the Nepal water straight because it's right from the mountain, and I believe that. I mean, the springs are all right there. We just took the additional step for our own tummy precautions to use the SteriPen. I know there are people who carry drops, and that takes a lot longer than just hitting it with the UV light because the water is clear. I mean, it comes out of a tap, so I wasn't so much worried about filtering the water, but I did want it treated with the UV light. Right,
and not so much a precaution because it's Nepal, but because we're travelers.
Correct.
Because our system doesn't have the bacteria in it, and you're changing countries rapidly, so it just is a precaution we take. Though you can buy bottled water.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
So to the bottled water point, there are bottled water is available all throughout the treks that we've done so far. That would be both the Annapurna trek and this Longtong trek. So all these tea houses have water. They typically have beer. They typically have some kind of soda. But we're generally tea, coffee. We're typically water drinkers when it comes to hydration.
Yeah. Okay, jumping back to food real fast, is that a lot of questions about what was our favorite food.
Yes.
On this, I think in all of Nepal, not just on the treks, but I know that we really like to try that. We just like to have the traditional food while we are in a country.
Right. That's the what's fun for us is to, whatever country we're in, look for the local dishes to experiment.
Yeah. So we love dal bhat.
Yep.
And the dindo was new to us, and that was awesome. And Granite even reordered it again for the next morning because he knew he was going to do a big hike, and he wanted it to power him through that hike. So
yeah, that was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun. The momos, of course, are a big hit with our family.
Yeah, and speaking of momos, so when I thought apparently we ate buffalo meat momos, not chicken. So I had a miscommunication with this vendor that was in a previous video, but they were delicious.
Yeah.
So apparently I like buffalo momos
I think that's the number one for the family.
Yeah.
I'm sticking with vegetarian, but you guys have all the buffalo.
Enjoyable.
Yeah. Good stuff. And then I think the kids, I think they would probably say dal bhat or momos. Those two were the big hits. And I know that Granite really loved the yak cheese on the trail, and we really loved the yak milk tea.
That was
that
epic.
fresh
right
yak
at the
milk
end.
tea. Yeah.
Yes, that was very cool.
That was nice. And just something warm after hiking. It was kind of rainy and cloudy, and just hanging out with the owners. of the tea house and drinking warm tea together was awesome.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So food, we're going to come back to Nepal for Everest Base Camp trek when forest is bigger, but we might have to come back sooner because we're going to miss the food. All right, another question that we had was, what was like the hardest moment on the trail? Maybe as parents, but in general, I would say that we didn't have a lot of difficult points throughout our hike. We had a lot of support and we were feeling pretty good, but I think as a parent, you put this extra pressure on yourself to not, like, you want to model, like, the ideal hiker and the best hiking moves and the energy and
kids,
excitement.
This is great. We're having so much fun.
And then by, like, remember that day when we thought we were at the Llama Hotel and then we weren't actually?
Yeah.
And I was just like, I was so tired that day and I was like, okay, I got to pull it together for my kids and I can't, like, just collapse here and lay down on the trail for a while and rest. So I think for me, that was probably the hardest point. It was like, okay, I got to try and be this tough mom hiker and just pull it together for my kids. And so I think I put more pressure on myself. But as far as motivating the kids, they were pretty good on their own.
I think so. Cedar is a little younger. So what Granite can do as a 10-year-old, she's just as an 8-year-old, not quite to the 10-year-old level. And so kind of for me, the hard part was always making sure she felt supported without being like overbearing, So if she wanted to kind of slow her pace, then either Kelly or I would just sort of naturally slow our pace too, without making it a big obvious thing like, oh, come on, Cedar, go faster. We wanted to avoid that scenario because then you don't want them to start like
not liking it. Yeah.
So you just go slow.
I think all parents are pretty good at getting like the art of distraction
yes.
down. So once they get in the mode, we're like, oh, I'm kind of tired. And you're like, okay, well, yeah, that's cool. Why don't you tell me about Minecraft? Tell me about your 47 Minecraft worlds or whatever.
Or how many flowers can we see along the way?
Yeah, we would play the color game or the I Spy game or eat strawberries all morning. So, whatever motivates them.
Yeah. So those were the terms of the difficulty, more like the mental side, not so much the physical side, I wouldn't say.
No, yeah, that was good.
Cool. All right, we had a variety of questions about price and how much do treks cost in Nepal? And that's sort of an interesting question because it really depends on a lot of factors. What time of the year it is, the size of your group, what region you're going to in Nepal. I mean, there's so many little factors.
Like if you're flying, it's going to be more, and if you're driving, it's going to be less.
Helicopter, or again, just there's a lot of different little components to trekking in Nepal that will affect the price one way or the other. So you're going to want to do your research. I typically contact 6-7 places before we go somewhere new, just so I get an idea of the cost. The best thing about Nepal is all of these companies' websites are very well organized, so it's pretty easy to find the information. And when you do contact a company, and let's say you're kind of at step one, you don't even know where you want to go in Nepal, you just want to go in Nepal. These companies are pretty excellent on giving recommendations. You tell them when are you going to go, how many people are going to be with you, the ages, what you might be looking for, and they will steer you typically in the right direction. At least that's been our experience. We've always been very happy with recommendations.
We've actually always had the tour company tell us what would be best.
Pretty much. We're like, what do you know, it's going to be this time of the year. What do you think? Yeah. Oh, Annapurna. Okay, sounds good. Or the Everest View Trail, which turned into Langtang. I mean, this is all guidance from the companies that we've used.
Yep.
And just like very specifically, you will see prices on companies' websites. For example, the Nepal Hiking Team website's excellent. It's very clear, the region, the time of the year, how much things cost.
And cost per person.
And some of that is honestly, it's negotiable too. So let's say, a price is going to be $700 a person. Well, but we have a 3-year-old. Do they have to pay the full price? So those are the types of questions that you're going to want to ask whatever potential company you're going to contact about price. And then ultimately you're going to see through the different companies you contact a broad range of prices for the same trail. So no matter which company you use, if you're going to go on the Langtang Trail or the Annapurna Trail or the Everest Base Camp or Viewpoint, whatever it is, the route's the same. You're going to walk this particular track regardless if you go with company A or company B.
Right.
So it really goes down to when you are talking with companies, who's giving you a good vibe, like who's answering your questions right away, who's just kind of giving you that sense of like, yeah, okay, this seems like the company we want, and go with your gut on that. And again, if one company comes in extraordinarily high and the other companies are kind of middle ground, I mean, you can certainly feel free to write off the high bid company or ask them if you like them, like, I'm getting these other bids, like, is there room in your budget to match this other company? And they may say yes, they may say no, but point being of all of this, contact different companies. Everyone's going to have a different rate. It really comes down to the customizing of the experience that you want, and
if they're willing to accommodate your needs.
Yes.
I know another family that reached out to a company and said, hey, we're going during peak season and we don't want to be with all the crowds. Is there a place we can go where it's a little bit off the beaten path? And they were able to do that for them.
Right, absolutely.
So just asking questions. You're not going to get what you want unless you ask for it.
Right, and you're not going to offend anybody by talking price and numbers. I know sometimes it's a bit weird, but it's just you ask and seek different companies' prices and go with your gut on it, really. And that's pretty much how it goes with the prices in Nepal.
We're going to start wrapping it up, and so we have a category called fun questions.
So a lot of you asked some pretty fun questions that we wanted to take a few of those.
And then we have a couple YouTube questions. Yeah. So we'll answer both those categories, and then we'll wrap it up for the day. The first one is, what is a message that you have that you would send to other foreigners about Nepal? And I would say that I think that we're agreeing that you should go.
Absolutely.
Go to Nepal.
Nepal's amazing. You will never, I think, regret
I don't think you're
going to Nepal. We've been now twice. We are definitely going to go back a third time.
We've gone both times with young kids.
Yeah, and it's
been amazing. Both
Nepal,
of them.
There's something about Nepal. It's just beautiful. It's absolutely worth doing. Tons of YouTube out there if you want to watch more stuff, but Nepal's where it's at.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that was that question. That's great. Okay. The other question is, somebody had a fun question of, what 3 words would you use to describe Nepal?
Okay, go for it. I'm going to think mine up real quick.
Okay, you think about yours. Mine would be hike big mountains.
Ooh, wow, that's excellent. Okay, hike big mountains. Good times. Okay, I would say like fun because it's excellent. Food, because the Nepalese food is just amazing. It's totally one of my favorite places to explore culinary food. Mm-hmm. And my third word to use for Nepal would just be epic. I just love Nepal. It's just epic in every way. The people, the hikes, everything. You're gonna love. You're gonna love it about Nepal for sure. And if you do have questions beyond what we've already answered, drop a comment down below. Reach out via Instagram, and we will
try and
support
get back to you
as best we can because because Nepal is absolutely a country for you to go to. All right, very quickly at the end here, YouTube. One of my favorite questions: how many subscribers did we gain in Nepal? And that I had to go back and check, but it's pretty outstanding. We have gained to this moment 37,277 subscribers since our first Nepal video went up, and that has blown my mind. Nepal, and if you are Nepalese watching this, thank you so much for the support. It's really been an amazing run of videos, and really to cap it, it's like icing on the cake of what Nepal is.
We already love Nepal, but we just thought all the support and advice we've been getting online through your comments and just like people sharing the videos with their parents or Nepalese families sharing. They're all over the world. Yeah. It's just been really cool.
And people reaching out and like telling us stories of their experience in Nepal or your experience in Nepal. Like, we love reading that, and it just really like reaffirms like we're doing some awesome stuff, and Nepal is a wonderful place.
We also keep a Google Doc of all of your suggestions. So all the places are like, hey, next time you go, go to these places. Like, I've already written down Province 1 apparently has lots of good spots in it. Sky Lake, Shea, I don't even know how to say Poksundo. Sounds awesome, in Lumbini too. Yeah. So we already have all these suggestions written down. Foods to try in different regions, and so
You know, now that you say it, I was gonna say we should go back when 4 says 8. That's 5 years from now, and now we're accumulating wonderful suggestions. We might have to come back and sneak in one more trip before base camp, I
I
think.
think we might have to.
All right. All right, everybody. Well, that is pretty much a wrap up of the Q&A. Really, we just want to say one more time, I think for both of us and Granite Cedar and Forest, thank you so much for your support. It's been a wonderful journey here in Nepal, and man, it gets in your blood, and we're already looking forward to another trip back to Nepal because it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Namaste.